تو یزید ہے آج بھی دو پہ قبضہ حسین کا، اور ہم پاپیوں کے حر کی مثال ہے، چمکاتا ہے نصیب کو اشارہ حسین کا، اور مذہب کی قید ہی نہیں ذکر حسین میں، ہر بت پرست ہو گیا شیدا حسین کا، اور جے سنگھ پناہ مانگے گی مجھ سے نہ رکیا، جے سنگھ پناہ مانگے گی مجھ سے نہ رکیا، میں ہندو ہوں مگر تو ہوں شیدا حسین کا، صلوات۔ جو کہ مصروف سلام شہدا رہتا ہے، جو کہ مصروف سلام شہدا رہتا ہے، گو وہ رہتا نہیں پر نام صدا رہتا ہے، شمر کہتا تھا یہی ماں ہے علی اکبر کی، جس کا ایک ہاتھ کلیجے پہ دھرا رہتا ہے، اے فلک کاٹے گئے باد فنا دست حسین، ایک نہ ایک ظلم تیرے گھر میں نیا رہتا ہے، آن کر ہند کی بیٹی نے سکینہ سے کہا، سر تیرا کس لیے اے بہنا کھلا رہتا ہے، رو کے وہ بولی یتیموں کی نشانی ہے یہی، کرتا بے وارثی بچوں کا پھٹا رہتا ہے، شام جب ہوتی ہے اونٹوں سے اترتے ہیں حرم پر سر شاہ تو نیزے پہ چڑھا رہتا ہے کربلا میں اے سبتے نبی یاد کرو یہ دبیر آپ کا مصروف دعا رہتا ہے جو کہ مصروف صلوات. اسی سے ربط ایک مصائب کا اور چند مسئلے. کون قائل تھا سلامی کے جنا اور بھی ہے کربلا دیکھی تو تب سمجھے کہ ہاں اور بھی ہے کون قائل تھا سلام پہ بے ساختہ گریاں ہونا بعد کلمے کہ یہ ایمان کا نشان اور بھی ہے فلک کے پیر تجھے اپنی ضعیفی کی قسم علی اکبر سا زمانے میں جوان اور بھی ہے اور لے کے ششماہ کو ہاتھوں پہ پکارے شبیر نظر حق کے لیے غنچہ دہان اور بھی ہے اور ماں نے قاسم کی کہا صبح کو تم ہوں گے شہید اس لیے بیاہ کی جلدی میری جان اور بھی ہے اور قتل جب ہو چکے اکبر تو پکارے آدھا شے سے پوچھو کوئی فرق ज़ंदे जवां और भी है कौने काइल।
Momini, a few quick announcements. uh, we had a note taking competition. So if anyone whom you know has not submitted their notes, the date is still next Friday. Please ask to submit the notes to Brother Akbar by next Friday. Also, we have sent emails on a T-shirt designing contest. Those who want to participate and submit their entries, please, the link that has been provided in the email, please follow on that link, click on that link and submit your entry in the time. uh, Upcoming majlises, there is a men's majlis on Friday 13th after Zuhran at Brother Amir Haidar's house. There is a ladies majlis on Friday 12th at Sister Sadf Zahra's house in afternoon at Worcester. There are two more announcements. One is for like last year we had an Arba'in play, and inshallah the team is all geared up to have another play this year. Those who want to participate after the Zuhr prayers tomorrow in the Sunday school, there'll be auditions held. So people of all ages are welcome. We have a script that fits for all ages. So please do come here and take part in this auditions, and inshallah we'll have the Arba'in play this year. Also, as you are aware that we have an Arba'in walk, and this year it will be on 28th of 28th of October, Sunday. And like last year's, we will have a bus service for Sunday school students as well as teachers and the families. If you want to ride through the service, please reach out to Sister Nida on women's side, or Sister Nudrat, uh, and on the men's side you can reach to me. So we will coordinate, and the bus will leave at around 10:30 sharp. Here there will be a small amount that you have to pay, and like last year's, inshallah we'll have the Arba'in walk this year as well. If you are interested, if your kid is interested in giving a speech or taking part in one of the programs during the Arba'in walk, please contact Sister Nudrat for that. Uh, with that, I'll request Maulana Vinay Ketia to grace the member. Loud salawat, please.
رحم الله من قرأ سورة المباركة الفاتحة. بسم الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وبه نستعين. والحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وهو رحمته للعالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. والصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المقتولين الميامين المهديين، ولعنة الله دائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون. Continuing from last night's discussion, I must have scared so many people. We have like, 25% of yesterday's crowd. So maybe so many people didn't want to come back, inshallah. May Allah bless the hadirin and the ghaibin, inshallah. Jami'an, inshallah. Continuing from last night's discussion, we were speaking about the various changes that went on in society, in the world, after the Second World War, and how that affected us, how that affected the categories. I wouldn't even say so much the categories, but the way we understood certain categories, the way our minds operated, right? So let me give you an example. Everybody wants to progress. The concept of progress, of, every day you get better at what you're doing, right? Every day you're progressing, you're moving ahead. With industrialization, progress to, developing more knowledge with regards to God, with regards to our ethics or our morality, progress was now pinned to GDP, gross domestic product. And this change, especially in the 19th century, towards the end of the 19th century, I'll say 18th and the 19th century, brought about a radical shift in the way we see the world, and in the way we even teach our children, the way we raised our children, and what we imparted to them, and what we impressed upon them as being important, right? We impressed upon them that the importance is for them to get a good job so that they could have money, so that they could achieve some sort of status within society and be a good Muslim. But to be a good Muslim, to be a good servant of God, kind of was mixed in there, kind of like a halim. It was kind of somewhere in there, mixed in with the, between the meat and the various ingredients within that stew. It didn't really take first place. First never really went to the person who read the best Quran, or the person who said the most prayers, or the person of Rasulullah. No, first place went to the person who, achieved that highest goal, their gross domestic product, of their efficiency, of their output, of their sheer output. And these categories profoundly affected us. And then what we did was we migrated as Muslims. Some of us are born here as African Americans. I don't know if there are any African Americans here, but we migrated, whether it be from East Africa, India, Pakistan, Lebanon, Iran, wherever it was, Bahrain. We migrated to places like the US and Britain and Australia and Sweden, all these different places. And then we never really thought for a second so much of what we're doing, and we just kind of continued on with the same categories. And those categories already existed in our colonial countries. Right? These were all previously colonial. Egypt, Pakistan, or Egypt, India pre-partition, Lebanon, all these. Iran was not colonized, but it was culturally colonized before 1979, right? And this idea of progress was pinned to GDP, to our gross domestic product. It still is. It still is, right? Global growth. There's always a concern about global growth, global decline, global growth. It's always pinned to the amount of jobs that are created, the amount of jobs that are lost, and net income, the income that people have, right? Now we have a problem. Because these categories are so rotten, they are so antithetical to any sense of spiritual development, that we then have the ayah in Surah Rum, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس, that corruption shall appear in the land and the sea by what the hands of human beings have done. ليذيقهم, so that they shall taste themselves, بَعْدَ مَا عَمِلُوا, so that they shall themselves taste some of what they have done, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَرْجِعُونَ, so that perhaps they will turn back. That now the ocean, for example, by what they're saying by 2050 or even before, we're going to have a 5 to 5, 5 fish for every plastic bottle. 5 plastic bottles for 5 fish. Yeah, because we pinned it to GDP. And now we're struggling, and now we're crying, Paris Climate Accord, this and that, but the US has walked away. Right? Who knows if China and India are going to follow through on anything of their commitments in this regard. And the hands of insan have literally God. They have spoiled it. And of course, everything can come back, but we will have to now taste this. Allah said, لِيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْدَ مَا عَمِلُوا. They will have to taste some of what they have done. A boomerang effect is there. It will come back, and they're going to have to taste the facade and the corruption that they have reaped within the earth. That's because we walked away from the table of spiritual values. Right? We surrendered everything to machines and to efficiency and mass production, and that became the sole goal of a society. Sole goal of a society. And did we think there would not be consequences? Darn well there would be consequences for this. Allah makes it clear in Surah Rum. There will be consequences. There will be, so to speak, hell to pay. And now we're seeing it. Look at this. I was reading NPR today and BBC. They said that the most recent research on child psychology, both at Harvard and other universities, have said that teens who spend 5 or more hours per day on their device are 71% more likely to have one risk factor for suicide. We invent these devices. We have no idea on the human psyche or the human mind. But they will now taste what they have done. That the rates of depression in teens are skyrocketing in the United States and Britain and Canada and the Western world. Skyrocketing. Suicide rates skyrocketing. Self-harm skyrocketing. Child abuse skyrocketing. Assault, a certain kind of assault. We know what kind of assault we're speaking of. 325,000 cases a year in the United States. About, some say, 700 suicides a day in the United States. A day. لِيُذِيقَهُمْ بَعْضَ مَا عَمِلُوا. That they will taste the rottenness that they have put into the earth. That they changed the priorities of life. They did. And each one of us are a part of that machinery. We're not here to sit on our holy high horse here. Because they took the concept of progress and they pinned it merely to material production. And we think that the hope of humanity is in AI, as Sundar Pichai at Google. Really? That we're going to put all the hopes with Musk and Pichai and these guys at Google and Silicon Valley, that they're going to solve the solutions? Really? And then the atheist turns around and say, well, how can God allow this to happen? How can God allow 19,000 children in Pennsylvania to be abused by Catholic priests? The question is, how can we allow this to happen? God has every right to ask us the very same question, which is, I gave you power, I gave you reason, I gave you knowledge, I gave you free will, I gave you the ability to speak. And you do this? You assault children, the most vulnerable members of society, and you take an oath to serve God. Humankind is on the, on this never-ending kind of line of progress. They're always, each generation is going to be better than the next. They're going to progress towards some kind of omega point of perfection. I don't see it. This is a fantasy. It's a complete fallacy. I mean, as if 2 world wars and like 20, 30, 40 million people lost wouldn't be enough for people to wake up from that. And people say God is not listening to him. Is insan listening to God? People say God's not listening to us. I'll get to it at the end. There's a woman within the Shia community who made this claim. We'll get to her at the end. Her, inshallah, may she be guided. God gave us this mizan, this beautiful balance. And what have we done? لا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't spoil this earth. Don't reap corruption in this earth after we have made it good. بعد إصلاحها ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم مؤمنين. This is better for you if you are believers. That this earth has been made pure. لا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها. Surah Al-Araf 75. So how do we let this evil happen? With all this communication and technology and all these amazing things that humankind has given, yet suicide rates are rising. Yet depression is at an all-time high. Yet assaults of women are at an all-time high. So the question I would ask in terms of real human spiritual progress, what has Google given us? In terms of the wholesomeness of our life, happiness. لا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها. Allah says, don't sow corruption in this earth after it has been made righteous, it has been made pure for you. Ya ayyuhal insan. Did God make the nuclear bomb? No. Did God tell those priests to abuse children? No. And unfortunately, this is even a problem in the Muslim community, as we know. There was a Sunday school in the United Kingdom where it turned out that the principal of the Sunday school was engaging in these activities, unfortunately, even in Toronto. Not from the Sunday school, but from someone from the Muslim community. I mean, you need all kinds of police checks now to teach in a Sunday school. Fingerprints and background checks. And where are we like, La ilaha illallah. Did God teach those doctors and biochemists to come up with new ways to eliminate a child's life in the womb before it's born? They send them to Yale Medical School or Stanford or wherever they go, or U of T, so they can learn to kill a child in the womb and vacuum it out like it's some kind of waste and throw it as medical waste in the garbage bin behind the hospital. Did God teach them? I would ask that atheist or that agnostic, did God teach them that? Did God give them revelation to do that? Did God reveal upon them to take human life? No, God told them to preserve life. So yes, there are many great things that human beings do, like saving children while they're in the womb, performing heart surgeries on children before they're even born. This is the preservation of life. This is godly work. There's no doubt about that. This preserves the dignity of human life, the sanctity of human life, the preservation of human life, the wholesomeness of human life. Yes, this is godly work. وَمَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ حَسَنَةٍ فَمِنْ اللَّهِ. Surah Al-Imran. That whatever good things that happen to you is from Allah. وَمَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ سَيِّئَةٍ فَمِنْ نَفْسِكَ. And whatever of evil occurs in your midst is from yourselves, Ya ayyuhal insan. Allah has made it clear. Did God tell that mother and father that earning money and pinning their children's hopes and dreams to gross domestic product instead of teaching them the akhlaq and the ethics and the aqaid of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt? Did God tell them that? That the child would grow up to be 12 or 13 and have an inappropriate relationship and have no regrets about it when asked? Did God tell the parents to raise a child that way? Did God tell the parents, mom to be dad and dad to be mom? To forget what the nature of the Abrahamic family, of the standard of what is an Abrahamic family, the children of Abraham? No. God didn't do that. Insan did. And we're sometimes so afraid to speak the truth. We're sometimes so afraid. We're like walking on eggshells sometimes, even among our own community members. Just simply say the truth. Because God forbid someone might get offended because we've recited an ayah of Quran. It is the family values of Islam that will ensure the faith of the community. And those family values require certain duties of man and wife. You don't want to get with the program, don't get with the program, that's fine, but then don't claim and come and say, Ya wayla, ya waylata, oh my God, my son is having a girlfriend, my daughter is going out on dates and she has no regrets about it. And she doesn't feel that regret in her heart, that nadam in her heart, because we've sown that into her heart. We are responsible. We are. How many of us attend a madrasa to learn about our duties to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our duties as parents? Do we think we can live vicariously through our children? No. No, we can't. No way. Apples don't fall far from the tree. It is what it is. This is what the Aima have told us. Read the Risalatul Hukuk, the rights of a child over a parent. Go and take a look. It's black and white. Imam Zayn al-Abidin. Allahumma salli ala. Why should we feel inferior? Why should our sisters feel inferior if they choose to prefer raising their children as mu'mineen and mu'minat as opposed to becoming CEOs? Why should they feel inferior? Why should they feel like they've made a lesser choice? Why should they feel less? Why should they feel less respected and less valued? Why? Allah tells us, and we're going through a lot of Quran tonight. Ayah ba'd al-ayah. Nisa 139. الَّذِينَ يَتَّخِذُونَ الْكَافِرِينَ أَوْلِيَاءَ مِن دُونِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. One, there are those who take disbelievers as their intimate confidants instead of believers. So you have the sifat and the attributes of the believers, meaning Ahlul Bayt and the true followers of Ahlul Bayt. On one hand, you have the attributes of disbelievers. People who don't live a life of faith, don't live a life of iman, don't live a life of commitment to godly values and family values. They take this group as their confidants, as their guides, as their awliya, as their leaders. أَيَبْتَغُونَ عِنْدَهُمُ الْعِزَّةَ. Allah says, do you seek dignity from them?
Do you seek your honor, your self-value, your self-worth from them? فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا. Know that izzah and honor belongs to God completely from its beginning to its end. جَمِيعًا. Our problem is a deep-set inferiority complex. The need, and by problem I mean insan, not this community, insan. Our problem is exactly what Allah has said here. We seek izzah and honor and self-worth and self-dignity from other than Allah Azza wa Jal and His Rasul and the mu'mineen. And thus then we feel less valued, less worth. We feel that our index of worth and value has gone down. Because the people of disbelief are living a different kind of life. Imma min al-Muslimin or ghayr al-Muslimin, whether they're Muslims or non-Muslims is regardless here. It's not talking about Muslims and non-Muslims per se. It's talking about attributes of human beings. Because Lord knows many Muslims have these very same attributes. God has told us that if we seek our dignity from someone other than Him, then fine. We will taste that fasad. If our sisters feel that they would not be accepted with that hijab because they're seeking izzah from someone or something other than the divine, then the consequences of those actions will come back to bite them, their husbands who support that decision or stand silent at that decision, and the children that result from those marriages. Bila shak wa irayb, because Allah has promised, وَإِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. Allah's promise is true. The ayat of Quran are sariha and clear here. The izzah comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala jami'an, not from anyone else. And this is the hallmark of mu'mineen and mu'minat. This is the hallmark. And yet we see, unfortunately, again, this problem among youth. Let me come back to this problem of suicide. There's a television show called 13 Reasons Why. It's on Netflix. Very popular among the young people who are watching it. It's about a girl who takes her own life, and she leaves 13 tapes explaining why she's taken her own life. Very popular among the young people. Maybe the adults don't know. It was so disturbing, the Catholics school board in Toronto and Ontario had to send a letter out to all the parents warning them about this, that the kids are watching this, because she's almost glorifying suicide. It turns suicide into this kind of, Hollywood excitement. Lo and behold, she ends up getting into a relationship with someone. That boy took a picture of her in an inappropriate way, sent the picture out to everyone at school. She was humiliated. One thing led to the next, and she eventually takes her life in a bathtub by cutting her wrists. And they show the whole scene. Very graphic of the bathtub filling up with blood. In the next season, I read these things because I work with kids, so I have to know what's going on. I have to read the synopsis of these things to understand what people are watching. In the next season, and the very last episode, they're in a church. Until now, there was no mention of any religion or any higher power, any hope or any prayer or any sense of turning to something above themselves. And the parents are sitting with the priest and saying, if only maybe we brought her earlier to find hope in something other than these earthly things that she was holding on to. Maybe the situation would have been different. But the truth is, she had nothing to hold on to. She had nothing beyond her damaged human self. And the majority of children today in our schools have nothing beyond that. Because it is a snapshot of where West Atlantic society is. West Atlantic, meaning everything on the West Atlantic side. Europe and North America. It's a snapshot of where our society is. And if we somehow think that our kids are immune from that, we better wake up and smell the coffee. We better take a reality check, because that's not true. It's not. Insan will taste the facade that they have planted in the earth. There is no doubt about this. And you know the wonderful thing about children before they become baligh especially? We doubting God as grown-ups sometimes. Why would God do this to me? Why would God take my mother? Why would God do this? Why do I have cancer? Right? And this is what the argument of these atheists and agnostics. Right? People who don't want to make any decision. Yeah, he could be there, but he seems to be quite cruel. So I'm not sure. I mean, most of my cousins are kind of like this, to be honest. My cousins are not Muslim. I'd say 99.9% of them have this idea. And they're kind of representative of the average person, average kind of thinking. Believe in something, but don't know what it means. Yet when you look at children, there's a wonderful book called And Then There Was Light. He was a Frenchman who fought against the Nazis in France. And he always says, I thank God that he took my eyesight when I was a child, because I never had an opportunity to blame him. I never blamed him a single day for taking my eyesight, because as a child, we don't blame God. We accept that this is a decree of God. We accept that this is God's decree. We accept it. رِضًا بِقَضَائِهِ وَتَسْلِيمًا لِأَمْرِهِ. That's a sifa, that's the attribute of the wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of isma. The children don't question the decree of God. They don't say, God, why me? Why me? Why me? Pity party. Why my mother? Children don't ask that. Ever visited a cancer ward? I have. Seen many children with cancer. Why are they all smiling? Ever wondered? Why are children with leukemia smiling? Never complaining a day. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Without hair, with their little bald heads, with their, chemotherapy and all that, and the drugs running into their veins, and they're smiling. And they never once doubt what they ask God, why me? No. I tell you, the vast majority, I visited, we have one of the largest children's cancer wards in the country at Sikh Children's Hospital in Toronto. I go all the time to visit. Most beautiful children you'll ever see in your life. Beautiful human beings. They teach us what Iman is. They teach us what it means to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They teach us the meaning of Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, Ridhan bi qada'ihi wa tasliman li amrih. All they want is their mom and dad to be there and hold them. That's it. As they die. I've seen this so many times. And then we wonder why we recite adhan and iqama in their ears. Why we give them the turba of Imam al-Hussein when they are born. فَإِنَّهُ aman, because it is a protection. Yet the one who denies God, the one who chooses to sit on the fence, God maintains his temperature as well at 98 degrees. If it was not for God's hilm and God's mercy, Allahu Akbar. There's a beautiful poem. Before I get to that, recite a salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Makes you think, really. There's a poem by Robert Frost, famous poet Robert Frost, beautiful poet, right? He says, I turned to speak to God about the world's despair, but to make matters worse, to make bad matters worse, I found God wasn't there. Then God turned to me. Don't anybody laugh. God found I wasn't there, at least not over half. How dare insan turn to say God is not there? When they are constantly compromising their values, they are constantly compromising their faith, they are constantly compromising their way of life, and then they say God is not there. God has never left us. We have left God. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirasuli idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. O you who believe, answer the call of Allah and His Messenger when they call you to give you life, to bring you life. Lima yuhyikum wa'lamu anna Allah yuhulu bayna al-mar'i wa qalbi. And know that God hovers between a man and his heart. That's how close God is to us. وَأَنَّهُ إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ, and that you will be gathered back to Him. God has never left us. Islam has never left us. We have left God. We have left Islam. Not the other way around. God has never left us for a moment. Had He left us for a moment, we wouldn't exist. How does He maintain us at 98 Fahrenheit, sitting here now? By leaving us? No. 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 He is the only one that can fill our hearts. He is the only one who cannot allow us to be overcome with despair. He is the only one that does not allow our souls to be trampled. There is no sultan but Him. That is the reality of God. The problem is that we are not there when He calls upon us. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu istajibu lillahi wa lirrasuli idha da'akum lima yuhyikum. Answer the call of Allah and His Messenger when they do da'wah. They're inviting us to give us hayat, to give us life. But we don't answer. How can the atheists blame that it is God's fault when God has been inviting us through 124,000 prophets? Laylan wa nahara, day and night, night and day. At every moment of our life, He is inviting us to a better life, to a better way, to a new beginning. But it is insan that turns away. It is insan that turns his back on God. It is human beings, through the decisions that they make, through the priorities that they make, through the value, through the false value that they give to certain things in life. And then when they taste, لِيُذِيقُهُمْ بَعْدَ مَا عَمِلُوا, when they are then made to taste some of what they have done, why should they then complain against God? Now it's God's fault. How convenient. It is completely childish and illogical to think this way. Oh yeah, and the other thing is we just love to blame others, don't we? That's insan, right? It's Maulana's fault, madrasa's fault, masjid's fault, school system's fault, US's fault, Israel's fault. I think the Muslim Ummah has become the most complacent. And why nobody else's fault? Except we don't want to take responsibility for our priorities as parents, for our decisions, for our way of life, for the choices that we have consciously made since our children have come into this dunya. We have to be grateful to God for what we have. Because if we keep complaining all the time, honestly, without taking account of ourselves, God will give us something truly to complain about. The Quran tells us that. Those who thank God, He gives them more, and those who complain, they'll have something definitely to complain about. Oh, He'll give them something to complain about. Houses come and go. They come and go, brothers. But do we thank God that we keep our deen? لا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا. Don't make our musibah to be in religion. We can have musibat in many other things. Many other things will come and go. But if we have a musibah that is a tragedy, a catastrophe in our deen, never again. We have to thank Allah for at least that much. Okay, we don't get everything we want in America. We don't get everything, it's not, nothing is ideal. The nature of this world is that our heart will be broken in it, okay? We can't expect that our hearts will not be broken in this world. That's the nature of dunya. There's only going up from here, from mu'mineen. From mu'mineen and mu'minat, there's only up. This is the lowest it will get. There's only upwards from here. We got to see the situation in that way. Do you see where I'm going, brothers? There's only upwards. For mu'mineen and mu'minat, for believing men and believing women, there's only up. This is as low as it gets. Hearts will be broken. Disappointment will occur in the dunya. They're the nature of this world. What we will be taken into account of is our deen. That is what we will be taken into account for. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. I'll give another beautiful example from Surah Nahl 112. I said that I really like using ayat of Quran to give examples, right? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Daraballahu mathalan qaryatan kanat aminatan mutma'innatan. That God gives a similitude, an example of something. Of a tribe, a community, a village. Comfortable, aminat, mutma'inna, in a complete living in serenity. Ya'tiha rizquha. Raghadan min kulli makan, that they're getting everything that they want from every place. Enjoying life. Like us, really, to be honest. We are in that situation, right? We're in that top 1% of the world, right? Just coming from Africa, we're definitely in that top. I just came from 3 weeks in Africa. Yeah, we're in the top 1%, okay? This ayah applies to us pretty much, okay? فَكَفَرَتْ بِعَنْعُمِ اللَّهِ. But then they became ungrateful for what God gave them. Look. فَكَفَرَتْ. This example in the Quran is extremely important, brothers. It's extremely important. فَكَفَرَتْ بِعَنْعُمِ اللَّهِ فَأَذَاقَهَا اللَّهُ لِبَاسَ الْجُوعِ وَالْخَوْفِ. They became ungrateful and spoiled. Why were they no longer grateful? Because they took their deen for granted. As they were enjoying life, they forgot the fact that they have responsibilities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to the one that has given them this ni'matul ijad, the one that was giving them the blessing of wujud and existence to begin with. فَكَفُرَتْ عَنْهُمُ اللَّهِ. They became ungrateful, and God made them taste. أَذَاقَهَا اللَّهُ لِبَاسَ الْجُوعِ وَالْخَوْفِ. And then He enveloped them in hunger and terror. بِمَا كَانُوا يَصْنَعُونَ. Because of what they had done. Because they were ungrateful. They were spoiled and ungrateful is what Allah is saying. بِمَا كَفَرَتْ. They did kufr of the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And because of that, God says, I will then give them a taste. They now want to complain. Okay, go and complain. I'll give them now something to complain about. I'll give them fear, terror, and hunger together. Jami'an. This faith of Islam, my dear brothers and sisters, is a very, very important amana and ni'mah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the greatest ni'mah that we can have in our hands, especially I'm speaking to parents here. And Allah will take us to account. There is no doubt about it. We will be brought by our nasiyah, by our forelocks in front of God. And we will have to answer in His court. He will ask us what we have done. There's no doubt about this. That what have we done with all these blessings that He has given us? Were we grateful or were we ungrateful? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That we have to stop for a moment and cry to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and weep before Him, begging Him for His mercy and thanking Him for this existence that we have. We have to. If we don't, the consequences of that are catastrophic. And those consequences are ones that none of us can then bear, can handle. Because then we will be met with God's justice and not His mercy. And that's not a game that we want to play. As Amir al-Mu'mineen told Malik al-Ashdar, "La tansawana nafsik li harbillah," in his letter, don't take God to war. That's a war you will not win. Don't take Allah to war. La tansabanna nafsik li harbillah. How powerful words are like that of Amir al-Mawla Haydar al-Karrar, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Don't take Allah to war. How can Allah, can you imagine? La tansabanna nafsik li harbillah, he told Malik. Powerful words. When we are ungrateful, we take God to war. We say, God, oh yeah, okay. You've given me all this, I'll show you. We have to thank God. Just like a father. Child's running towards a fireplace. Father slaps his hand from touching the fire. Father saves the son. Son cries, Baba, why'd you hit me? Baba was saving him from something that would hurt much more than a slap on the wrist. Sometimes God takes things away from us to save us from that knot of Jahannam. Okay? He loves us more than we love ourselves. As mu'mineen and mu'minat, He loves us more than we love our own selves. Like that father that saves a child from running into the fireplace, God will take things away from us and during our life. He will. That's fine. Because if we're believers, we will always thank Him for it. Because we understand that He's saving us from something else. Always, always for mu'mineen and mu'minat. Even if it is something we have done, He's punishing us here so that He saves us there. context to the challenges that we face in our daily life. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll end with an ayah of Quran. Again, coming to another ayah of Quran from Surah Al-Baqarah, hammering on this same point, my brothers and sisters. It's the same point. I hope you're here. Our priorities will determine where we stand with God. That's my point. If we are thankful for God's blessings, our priorities in our life, our actions, the way we raise our children, the way we speak to our spouses, the way we build our homes, the way we build our communities will look a certain way. If we are ungrateful to God, then the way we build our home, the way we raise our children will look a certain way. It all depends on the priorities, the categories that we have, by which we shape our life, by which we attempt to live our life. Now let's go to Surah Al-Baqarah. لا تنكحوا المشركات. That don't marry the polytheistic women حتى يؤمنن, until they become believers, until they believe. ولا أمة خير من مشركة ولو أعجبتكم. That a slave girl, a slave woman, in those days they had those, is better for you, meaning a woman that is not free, of low social status, is better for you than that beautiful, rich, prosperous, polytheist woman, mushrika. Even if, lo a'jabatkum, even if she dazzles you. A'jabatkum, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even if she captures you. Ainul a'jab, that your eyes are just galvanized by what you see in front of you. Allah says, no, that simple slave is better for you. Look at the priorities. Allahu Akbar. Are we looking at the depth of Quran here? But Maulana, she loves me, I'm told. And I love her. And I've even had fathers come to me and say, Maulana, can we figure something out? Come on, let's make a deal. Let's figure out how we can get this done. No, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I according to others. I said, well, the hadith says, وَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ دِينُهُ أَنَّ فِي دِينِهِ غَضَاضَةً. That know that this person is deficient in their religion if they seek a partner that is a problem in their deen. I said, then you're okay. You want me to find it out the door, right? Sometimes I'm not even offered food. Listen to. Yet Allah says that simple slave is better for you. وَلَا حتى يؤمنوا. Don't theistic, leaving lowly males save his birth. Then the mushrik male. This is the ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the ayah. لو أعجبكم, even if he dazzles you, even if you claim to be in love. This is what God is saying. Love is blind. Totally blind, totally misguiding. Biggest dalala, biggest misguidance. Lo ajabakum. Even if you fall in love. Allah knows what is best. He knows how our hearts work, how our minds work. He's going deep into the psychology of insan. And then look what Allah says. This comes to the priorities here. أُولَٰئِكَ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. That the mushrikeen invite you to hell, to the fire. Wallah yad'u invites you. His da'wat is for what? For Jannat and forgiveness. بِإِذْنِهِ وَيُبَيِّنُ آيَاتِهِ لِلنَّاسِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَذَكَّرُونَ. And He has imparted signs to the people. If only they would get their priorities straight in their life as to what is considered to be developed, what is considered to be enlightened, what is considered to be forward thinking. I always hear this, Mulana, you have to be more forward thinking. What does that mean? Like, who's forward thinking? Not or Jannah. We have, I'll end on this note, yet we have, unfortunately, I read a letter today, the saddest thing I have ever read, by a woman from the Shia community justifying, there's a public letter, so it's not a private letter, it's a public letter that she released to the community, it's on the internet, where she justifies her son marrying a same gender and her attending it, and she writes a letter to this effect, expressing the dismay that she was forced to resign from the board of directors of a Shia Muslim organization. And in there she says, a just God wouldn't have it that way. La ilaha illallah. What do you know about adala? Who in God's green earth are you to lecture us about the adala of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Serious? Like, are you joking? How warped and demented is your mind? May Allah guide you. May Allah bring you from dhulimat to the nur, inshallah. أولئك يدعون إلى النار والله الجنة والمغفرة خلاص. They are inviting to nar. Allah is inviting you to Jannah and Maghfirah. Baba, what do you want now? A just, what do you mean by a just God? What kind of demented, deluded way of thinking, and then to write this and to release this to the media and the people as a justification that God's some kind of vending machine and I pray to him, change my, so I'm justifying my support, I'm justifying this. How? La ilaha illallah. La samaha Allah, na'udhu billah. This is the most demented logic that I've ever read. Honestly, the most disturbing thing. And the fact that such an individual would be on the board of directors of a Shia organization, handling the khums. Allah has given us the priorities in the Quran. I'm not going to the hadith, maybe hadith, oh, authentic, not authentic, this, that, okay. Every single ayah that I've quoted, leave aside here. Na'udhu billah. Love is blind. Serve the happiness for our children in dunya. We want them to be happy in akhirah. To be happy here. Who said that is the in the maqsad of mu'mineen and the life of mu'mineen and mu'mineen. That idea comes. You can't simply say God is just. He would want my son to be happy, so I support him. He said, لا تفسدوا في الأرض بعد إصلاحها. Don't corrupt the earth after it has been made pure. Why don't you quote that ayah to your son? Where's this hippie flower power nonsense? Honestly, I don't know. It's a bunch of nonsense. And it is despicable that someone would hold a position of a Shia community, a Muslim community, and espouse such vitriol and filth. Don't hide behind God and A'imma Tahirin. Oh, and we did ziyarat of Imam Hussein. La ilaha illallah. So what? Were there so many conditions for the ziyarat to be accepted? Maqboola. And this is unfortunately the state, because where there's smoke, there's fire. The fact that this individual felt comfortable enough to write this letter and send it out to the communities, publicly and openly. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Because she thought she would find sympathizers, that people would run to her aid and sympathize and say, they are wrong for asking for your resignation. يَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Nobody came to her aid. Nobody. Because she sought her izzah from other than Allah. And Allah ensured she would then be dhalila. Allah has given us these priorities, brothers. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. To some responses to answers of where the Qadariyah, the whole theological group, came out of this. This is what Yazid told Sayyidah Zainab, because they didn't want to take responsibility for their own actions, for the butchering and the murder of Imam al-Hussein. They didn't want to take responsibility, so they threw it at God. Responsibility for what? Imam Zain al-Abidin tells us through Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, who says that my father told me that they carried us on saddleless camels. وَرَأْسُ الْحُسَيْنَ عَلَى عَلَمٍ, and the head of Hussein was on a pole. They didn't want to take responsibility for this, for the head of Hussein being on a pole. Take your imagination, close your eyes and imagine that head of Imam al-Hussein being impaled on a pole. And his daughters, his wife, his sisters having to look at that face. Bughal Waqifa, and the weak and defective mules, the riwayah states, from Kufa to Sham, through the desert, through Mosul, through Raqqa. Right? These are all the various cities that they passed through. The Imam tells us that the mules were eclipsed by spears. as they were riding on the long distance, brothers, that they were covered in spears. And on the spears were heads. And you can imagine in that heat, what happens to exposed dead flesh in the heat of the sun. Imagine what would have the smell been. The smell, the stench, the bugs, insects. Normally when you have dead, decaying flesh, you would put it in some kind of box when you want to transport it. But in order to torture the women, the riwayat tell us that they put the heads on spears around them. And then he says, in dam'at min ahadina aynun, and if any of us dropped a tear, quri'a ra's birrumah, they would then smash the head. That a punishment for our crying was that they would begin to mutilate the head of our father that was already decapitated. That was their punishment. In dama'at ayn, if one eye even cried, Imam Zain al-Abidin says, quri'a ra's birrumah, that the head would be beaten. And Umayyads did not want to take responsibility for this. Yeah, God supposedly willed this, na'udhu billah, as Yazid had said. The abuse was to such an extent, we're told in the traditions of the Maqatil, that as they approached Sham, Kulthum went up to Shimr, la'anahullah, the man who sat on the chest of her brother, imagine, sat on the chest of his brother holding his beard. She had to now approach this man. And she told him that the ladies are tired of being stared at. They're tired of being abused. So they're taken, because through each city, the ladies were put into the slave markets. Right? So they're in chains and people would come to look at them, to purchase them. Now, of course, they were not for sale. They had to go to Sham. But they were put in that slave market, in the place where prisoners of war are kept. Kulthum, Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayhi, Rubab, this is where they were kept, Sayyidah Sakina. So she says that we're tired of this. We have one request of you. That when you bring us into Sham, don't bring us in from the main gate. Bring us in from another gate which is not as crowded with people. And our second request is that you move the heads away from us and our children. Because we can't look at them anymore. We are exhausted. We have cried too much now after looking at these heads. We're asking you to move them away. And guess what he did? He brought them closer to the heads and brought them in from the main gate of Sham. As a punishment. This was the evil of Banu Umayyah. And he brought them into Sham from the busiest gate. And this reminds me of the statement of Imam Zain al-Abidin who says, فَإِنُّ لَمَّا أَصَابَنَا بِالطَّفْ مَا أَصَابَنَا. For those who know Arabic, the depth is there. He says, when what happened to us in Taf, Karbala, happened to us. لَمَّا أَصَابَنَا بِالطَّفْ أَصَابَنَا. In Arabic, it means what happened has happened now to us. Meaning it is so profound that what do I tell you? What do I not tell you? What do I describe to you? What do I not describe to you? Imam continues, salamullahi alayhi, qutila abi wa qutila man kana ma'ahu. My father was killed. Those who were with him were killed from his family and his brothers and his Ahlul Bayt. And my heart began to palpitate from this. My heart began to shake from this. Lamma ra'a minhum qalqi. He says, وَكَادَتْ نَفْسِي تَخْرَجْ. Imam Zain al-Abidin says, it is as if I was about to have a heart attack. That my heart, the tender heart of Zain al-Abidin could no longer handle all of this. That he must depart from this dunya, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would take him. And at that point, Sayyidah Zainab noticed him. And she says to him, what is wrong with you? Ya Baqiyatullah, what is wrong with you? He says, Kayfa la ajza wa la ahla. How can I not mourn like this? Imagine Zainab alayhi salam is concerned for Zain al-Abidin because he is mourning so much, he is in such a state of distress that Sayyidah Zainab comes to him and is worried about him. And then he says, how can I not, when my cousins lay there in blood, murammilin bil ara, musallibin, that they lay there without any clothes. They lay there with everything taken from them. They lay there without anyone caring for them. That people would walk by their bodies and literally treat them like rubbish. That my Imam's body, taht al-thara, that we had to leave him on the ground without his clothing, without his amama, without his abba, without anything. We had to leave him, and nobody, even until after some days, decided to even mend to his body. And this is why I am crying. This is why I am crying. Wa Husayna wa Ghariba. This was a musibah of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, brothers and sisters. We say, taht al-thara, left on the dirt. The riwayah says, just left on the dirt. Bila kafan, bila akfan, with no kafan, nothing. With no head and no clothes. This is how they left the body of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is what Imam Zainal Abidin is saying to Sayyidah Zainab, that now I cry, that now my heart is palpitating, that now my heart is shaking within my chest, because of this eyes cannot take back what it has seen. He had probably never even seen his father's chest, maybe. Well, they stole the qamis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The qamis is the shirt of Imam al-Hussein. They literally took the shirt from his body and left his chest bare on the ground. This is what the Imam Zainal Abidin is telling us. Ala la'natullahi ala qawm al-zalimin wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ay munqalibin yanqalibun. Matima Hussein.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein.
और मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein,
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, हाय सज्जादे ने गम कैसे उठाए होंगे, हाय सज्जादे ने गम کیسے اٹھائے ہوں گے ہائے سجاد نے غم ہوں گے ہائے سجاد نے غم کیسے اٹھائے 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 ہوں گے